I'm Midge Murphy, and I started practicing law in California after putting myself through law school, and decided I really wanted to do entertainment law, though I had a real interest in women's sports, and did do that when I was going through law school, representing professional women athletes. And what I realized is that after becoming successful as an entertainment lawyer, was that something was missing. And I had gotten a big, huge promotion, and I was sitting at my office in Beverly Hills with the floor-to-ceiling windows and looking out over the city. And, quote, I had made it, and I was vice president of business and legal affairs for ABC Motion Pictures. And I realized there was that little song that came into my head, and some of us will remember this one based on our age, but Peggy Lee's song, Is This All There Is? I don't know if you remember that. So I realized there was still something that I hadn't discovered, and that really started me on my spiritual path, and reading and exploring and taking a look at things. And through a whole series of events, I ended up deciding that I did not want to practice entertainment law anymore, and was ready to start a new phase in my life. And that's when my then husband and I moved to Oregon and did a lot of traveling around the world. We had an adventure travel company. So we did hiking and treks literally all over the world, wherever there are high mountains. And that atmosphere and that culture and those kinds of experiences give you an opportunity to really go deep in terms with your own process. And out of that came an interest of all things, which surprised me, because from a logical, linear standpoint, as a lawyer, you wouldn't think that this would be of interest to me, but I got very interested in the concept of energy medicine and what that was all about, and had the opportunity to study with Norm Shealy and Carolyn Mace, who started a PhD program in energy medicine. And out of that experience and graduating, and really I didn't know what I was going to do with that information and that degree, because nothing quite made sense to me at that point. But I was kind of following my inner guidance, that this is something I wanted to do. And as a result of that, what came about was an opportunity to create a course, and an academic course on ethics and legal principles in the practice of energy medicine. And that came about from a colleague that I went through the PhD program, asked me to put together this course for her academic program, which is the Academy of Intuition Medicine in Sausalito, California. And that was not something that I had purposefully thought that I would be doing, but it made sense. It's like, yes, I understand energy medicine and the world of energy, and I also obviously have a very strong legal mind and the ability to walk in both worlds. So I kind of consider myself like a bridge between the world of non-linear, non-materialistic, reductionist world of energy, in which in the quantum field we know that everything is one, and there is no time or space. And I love the concepts in quantum physics. So as a result of teaching that class and getting started with that, I also did some spiritual counseling because of my work with Carolyn Mace and her book, Sacred Contracts, and did some presentations and some work around that. I also, at that time, was doing some continuing ed classes for lawyers and judges on professionalism and quality of life, and did some of those around the country. And that's something that may come back into my life again. But really, I'm really focusing right now as a consultant in the ethics and legal issues in energy-based therapies. And that's become my sort of niche market. And out of that came the opportunity to write a book with Dorothea Hoverkramer, who is one of the founding presidents of the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology. So I'm really working within the field of all this cutting-edge healing techniques that are coming out that are really based on working with the human energy system rather than just with the body. So you work with the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. And this is also being driven by just what people want in their healthcare delivery system. So what we're looking at now in the future of healthcare is something called integrative medicine. But within that, you need a framework, a regulatory, a business, and an ethical framework within which to move forward and bring these modalities into mainstream healthcare. So that's really been my focus the last few years, is working as a professional liability risk management consultant and helping organizations that have created certification programs around some of these new modalities in order to help them, empower them to move through the risks that are inherent in doing something new and innovative, and also the deep, huge responsibility we have as healers when we work with somebody's energy system, the ethical framework within which that goes much, much deeper. So we have to connect with the deepest part of us, that we're all interconnected, and the reverence for all life. And that's a very different paradigm than traditional ethics in medicine, psychology, or even massage. So you build on that, those premises that are already there. Obviously the client always comes first. So these are the kinds of courses that I teach to healers, and some of them are licensed and some are non-licensed. So they each have different issues that they have to deal with around their practices. But it's really about empowering them to go out and do their work in the world. But you have to be practical, and we do have a legal system and a healthcare system within which you must provide services and also be held accountable. So how do you mix all of that and still move forward? So the cool thing is that there is absolutely no set anything at this point. It's a wide open field, and you do need pioneers and visionaries to move forward and actually see, how do we actually create this? What is the foundation upon which we want to create this work so that it actually is viable out there in the public and people can use it and transform their lives? So that's a real key point. And in the meantime, through all of that, I became a therapeutic touch practitioner. And I got that from being with a hospice volunteer for over 8 years here in Eugene, Oregon. And that really taught me how I knew how to work with energy, that modality. And I'm still very connected to the therapeutic touch world, and I speak at their national conferences on ethics and legal principles in therapeutic touch. And also we got involved with Reiki and have been initiated as a Reiki master, done some Tellington tea touch with animals, because the other thing I do is I have an animal energy medicine healing practice. So that's the other business that I have. And so I've becoming certified in matrix energetics, which is sort of a new cutting edge consciousness technologies that Richard Bartlett has founded up in the Seattle area. People always ask me what I do, and I try to explain it, and they still don't really understand it because it's very cutting edge and it's sort of out there. But basically what I know is that I'm a healer, and how do you manifest that archetype? And you have to kind of think outside the box, because I do think as attorneys as healers. And the fact is that how you approach being a lawyer, in your orientation, in your level of being connected to the lawyer archetype, really resonates with how well you can really represent your clients in a way that humanizes the process. And so one of the things that shifted me out of, quote, wanting to practice law was I was at Disney. I was vice president of business and legal affairs at Walt Disney Television. And I sat there one day and I asked myself a question. I said, what is it that I do all day long? And I realized what I did was argue. And I was exhausted because I didn't want to argue all day long. And I was making multi-million-dollar deals for, different kinds of talent agreements and hiring directors and arguing if they're going to get $4.5 million or $4.3 million. And how big their name was going to be on the screen. Those are the kinds of deal points that you do in the entertainment field. And I realized I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to argue all day. That's just not how I want to spend my time. So that was a big turning point for me to kind of start to move out and look out what else might be out there. But I must say, being a lawyer and having those skills are just, I certainly haven't dismissed them, and I really cherish them and honor them, and because I think they're so valuable. But it wasn't just for me to become a lawyer. There was a bigger calling for me, and so that's why I've become an educator and a consultant and work as a healer and work with the animals specifically, which I really enjoy.